What up? It's on the Sequence to Sobriety. My name is Rob, and I'm an alcoholic and drug addict. Today, I want to get into the topic about loneliness. Being a drug addict like me, I experienced a lot of loneliness because I decided to isolate myself from the world. I decided to separate from anybody who wasn't actively using drugs because they had nothing to offer me. I had nothing in common with them. I didn't want to be around them, and I just couldn't stand being around people who didn't use because they didn't understand, no agarraban la misma cura, no tenían la misma mentalidad que yo tenía. So why even waste my time of being around them? So that's what separated me a lot from being with my family, of missing out with family functions. I missed a lot of birthdays. I missed a lot of Christmases, New Year's, Mother's Day, Father's Day. I have no recollection of spending any of these holidays with my family. There's one picture that I have with my family, like where all my brothers and sisters and my niece, we took a picture in my parents' living room, but I don't remember that day. And I was there physically, but mentally, I have no idea what part of outer space I was visiting because I was on a sick one. But it gets pretty fucked up when you're out there. For me, it got pretty fucked up when I was out there. I used to hang out with my homies, right? Obviously, we're tweaking, having a good time. But eventually, the good time ends. Eventually, I wear out my welcome at somebody's house. I could only spend a day or two max at somebody at my homie's house that he was like my brother. After that, gone. I didn't want to go home because if I'm home, I have to just stay in my room and play fucking possum all night, and it sucks. I don't want to just be laying there all in the gabber. I want to be moving around, tweaking. So I wouldn't come home for what? I felt like it was a waste of time and it would have killed my high. So I try to line up people I could hang out with for like different nights. But eventually, you wore out your welcome with everybody. Well, let me talk about me. I wore out my welcome with everybody. I couldn't just. It was just it. Like they like it's that's it. Rob, go home. Rob, get out of here. Rob, you know what I mean? Like they wanted to be doing their own thing as well. I just couldn't be in the masaya estancado con ellos. So that's when what me and my homies dubbed the stress slap, aka the slap. And what this consisted of was me walking around my apartment complex, the Vista Terrace complex, the houses that are next door, all the way up to the Smythe Park. And this slap used to take me about hour and a half, and I'll just be walking miserable. No drugs in my pocket, fucking high, wishing upon a star that I could kick over a leaf and I'd find a big fat pizzle packed with a lighter right next to it. Wishing that I could find a briefcase full of money so I could just buy all the meth in the world and go rent a hotel room and fucking smoke my brains out for a month. Notice how I didn't say help my parents or pay some bills. That was never the case, and that was never a choice for me to do while I was peak addiction. I would walk around these areas, right? I would it's so embarrassing. Since I didn't have money for cigarettes, when I would find the watch house, right? When I would smoke halfway, I would find halfway cigarettes or whatever. I'd get them. I mean, I would I would fucking disinfect them. Where you hit it from the cigarette butt, right? I'd get my lighter and burn it. Say, and that disinfect it. Or if I would find like a bunch of little mini cigarettes, whatever, there was places that we knew that the people who lived there smoked, and they had an ashtray in front. So I would go up to their apartment, go into like in the Vista Terrace, especially. They had like little porches. I would walk into their porch and take their cigarette butts, take out whatever tobacco's in there, and then if I was on a lucky day, I'd have like rolling papers, and I roll myself a brand new cigarette, and I felt like I was on top of the world. I felt when I was smoking that fucking cigarette made out of a bunch of different cigarette butts, it felt like I was living the life. Like I had no worries in the world. I was just doing my thing. And that's how low that I got, where I couldn't even afford to buy cigarettes. They used to sell single cigarettes in my apartment complex. I didn't even have 35 cents to buy a fucking cigarette. I used to ask my sick dad to fucking let me borrow 35 cents, dog. Like, you know how fucked up is it is? A grown man. I have to be like, hey, dad, can you give me 35 cents? I could go buy a cigarette right here. And he look at me like, oh, no mames, you know? But I'd bust those stress laps, and once in a great while, I would find something. The most memorable thing I found was I used to know there's a spot in the houses where we would post up and smoke weed. I passed through there, and sure enough, I found the apple packed with a bowl. It looked like it only had like one hit off of it, and I was like, dude, this is fucking top notch right here. It's a good ass come up. But walking these streets alone, walking through these apartment complexes alone, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, running into random ass people, like, dude, like again, like this was here again. Like, and you could tell I'm smoked out. You could tell there's something wrong with me. And it was embarrassing. And I didn't have the balls to come home because it was 2, 3, 4, 5 days later. And I didn't have the face to show. I mean, ¿con qué cara voy a llegar a mi casa? Ya van 3, 4 días, no llego y voy a llegar like nothing happened. I hated coming home because I would have to walk in the door and hear a fucking speech from my parents. I wanted to avoid the speech. I didn't need to know what the fuck. Like, they didn't need to give me a fucking whole get down of this and that and how I shouldn't be fucking around and how I need to be home and fucking I need to grow up and get a job and I need to do this. I don't want to hear that fucking bullshit. I don't want to know anything about responsibilities. That's why I didn't want to go home. That's the speech I did not need to hear. So I would avoid it, but I fucking missed it. I missed home like a motherfucker. I'll never forget. There was 2 occasions that I had that just like that break my heart every time I think about it. One time, it was like the last night I was out, right? And I was on a fucking 5, 6 day binge of me not coming home. And I would just camp out. I would camp out in the building in front of where I lived. And the building in front of where I lived was like a 3-story building. So I would be in the second story in the steps, and I could see down because we lived on the first floor of the building in front. So I would look down, and I knew and like I just knew that just being right there, I felt a little bit more comfortable because I'm like, I was right here. I'm home. I was feet away. I had keys to the apartment. I had keys to my door. I could have walked in whenever I wanted to. I just never had the balls to walk in. I didn't want to confront my reality. And I remember it was so fucking sad that I wanted to come home so bad. I was missing my parents. I was missing my family so bad. But like I said, I always chose drugs. But at this time, I was coming down, and when I'm coming down, it's all emotions. I walked up to the door. We had like those screen doors, like those black metal doors. I remember I opened it so fucking slow just to not make noise because I know it was like around midnight. And I know my mom might be asleep, but I know my dad used to stay up a little bit later. And I would just rest my ear against the door and just listen to my dad watch TV, like see if I could hear them talk, just to hear their voices. And like I wanted to walk into the house and just say, I'm sorry, like I won't do this anymore. And like I promised I'll stop, but the reality is I was never going to stop, and I didn't want to stop, but I wanted to come home. I just couldn't come home, and it was so fucking heartbreaking for me to go through that shit because I did it. But at the end of the day, I know I did this to myself. I would go back in the building that night that I did that, when I put my ear to the door to listen, just to hear if I could hear them cough, hear them sneeze, just anything, like just anything. I was just like, fuck, man. Like, I went back up to that building that's staring right in front, and I knew exactly what time my mom would leave for work, and I knew my dad would be asleep, so I knew I could head in the house, and like a man, like grown fucking man, tough man with all the balls in the world, afraid, doesn't wants to avoid his parents at all costs, doesn't want to get told anything. I remember seeing my mom walk out the door going to work. Yeah, but señora, viejita going to work, dog, and I'm just like, fuck, I can see the look on her face, worried, not mad, not just worried that she don't know where her stupid ass son is at. And she had no contact. She would text me. I would ignore her text messages because she would kill my high. She would call me. I avoided her calls because she's gonna kill my. What she's gonna do? Tell me to come home? Like, nah, I'm good. I remember, so I waited for her to leave. She left, and then I would go inside the house. My dad would wake up, look at me. He's like, "You home?" Yeah, I'm home. And he would be like, "All right, go get some sleep. Whenever you want to eat, here's you have a buffet of beans and rice and tortillas. Just whenever you want to eat, come eat, and we'll talk in a couple days." So my parents knew, obviously, that I was fucked up and coming down, and they knew I was ready for some sleep. They knew I was ready for the withdrawals, and they would let me sleep 2, 3 days. All I would do was get up to eat, sleep, shit for 3 days. And on the third day, fourth day, when I would come to, then they'd have that eventual talk with me about how I need to change and how I need to do this. And I would agree with them completely, like, yeah, I know I'm messing up and I'm gonna do better and this and that. And they gave me a bazillion chances, and I just always took advantage of every chance they get. They would extend their hand, and I didn't care. I just would lie to them. I would look in their eyes, and it was so easy for me to lie to them and tell them, "Yeah, I'm gonna change. It's never gonna happen again." But that same night, I was back to tweaking. After I came to, I got my strength back. I was back to smoking that shit because it was more important to me. It was more. I wanted to get high. I liked being on the sick one. I had no excuse other than I like being on the sick one, and it was so fucked up, man. Breaking my parents' heart, knowing that like I'm fucking up on them, knowing that I'm failing as a son to them, like it was really one of the motivations that I had to keep on using because según yo quería fumar para no sentir nada, and that's when shit was like getting real. When drug addiction started to get real is when I started realizing that ando valiendo verga. And I don't want to feel this way. So I need to get high to avoid feeling this way. And just the cycle just continued and it continued. And it went on like that. And it's so fucked up, but I had to go through. And I put myself through it. At the end of the day, I realized that.